Hello bachcho, how are you doing? I hope you all are doing fine. So let's start the new topic, microorganism, friends and foe. And what is the aim to learn this chapter? Do you know why we are learning this chapter? Why we are going to read this chapter? Yes, I am going to tell you that there are so many things we are going to learn. We are going to learn about habitat of microorganisms, microorganism and us, food poisoning, nitrogen fixation, types of microorganisms, harmful effects of microorganisms, food preservation, nitrogen cycle. So now I am going to tell you how we can learn this. So let's start the chapter with warm-up activity. Make your own mold. Collect a few items like an old leather shoes, cotton cloth and old lipstick, fresh beans and a lemon. Keep them separate in a moist and warm and poorly ventilated place. Observe the type of mold that grows on each item after a few days under microscope. Living organisms vary in shapes and sizes. Some organisms are big like a whale and some are small like an ant. But some organisms are so tiny that they cannot be seen with naked eyes. These organisms are called microbes and microorganisms. Greek micros, small organisms, organism. They can be seen only with the help of an instrument called microscope. हम छोटी छोटी चीज़ों को भी माइक्रोस्कोप से बहुत अच्छे से देख सकते हैं. The branch of science that deals with the study of microorganism is called microbiology, and the scientist who studies about microorganism is called a microbiologist. Okay? I hope आपने ये mention कर लिया होगा. I hope आपने underline कर लिया होगा that with which instrument we can see the small things, that is microscope. And what is the name of that study like we do for this kind of using this kind of instruments and all, that is microbiology, and person who studies this is called microbiologist. Now let's read about habitat of microorganisms. Microorganisms are found everywhere, in air, in water, in soil, desert or marshy land, inside the water bodies, and even in polar regions. They are present on and inside the bodies of living organisms too. Microorganisms are capable of existing in extreme conditions of temperature and dryness by forming a hard outer covering called cyst. When the conditions become favorable, they come out of their cyst and multiply and go through their life cycles. Microorganisms may be unicellular, such as bacteria and protozoa. They may be multicellular, such as fungi, and some can live alone, for example, amoeba, while others occur in group called colonies, for example, bacteria and fungi. Microorganisms play an important role in human life. Many of them are beneficial as we depend on them for many things. On the other hand, some of them are harmful in many ways. Types of microorganisms. Microorganisms are classified into the following groups: bacteria, protozoa, virus, fungi, algae. Right? Do you know Anton van Leeuwenhoek of Holland was the first scientist to observe microscopic plants and other organisms, including bacteria, with the help of microscope. Now let's read about bacteria. Bacteria are single-celled organisms with a cell wall as their outer covering. The size of bacterial cells varies from 0.2 to 100 microns. 1 micro is equal to 0.000001 meter. Okay, and they have a cell wall and a cell membrane like a plant cell, but they lack a well defined nucleus. Bacteria are mainly of three basic shapes. Round bacteria are known as cocci, singular coccus, and rod-shaped bacteria are known as bacilli, singular bacillus, and spiral-shaped bacteria are called Sapirilla, singular Sapirilium. Fungi are non-green plants and they include molds, rust and puff balls, and they are either parasitic, obtaining their food from other living organisms, or saprophytic, obtaining their food from dead and decaying matter. They grow well in warm and moist conditions. Some fungi like yeast are unicellular, whereas others like molds are multicellular. Do you know ringworm and scabies are fungal diseases of human? And smust or rust and rust are fungal diseases that affect crops. Protozoa are simple, minute, unicellular microscopic animals. The word protozoan means the first animals. Most of them can only be seen under a microscope. Some protozoans also shows plant-like characteristics. That is, they contain chlorophyll and can perform photosynthesis, but they too lack cell wall is lacking. Example, Aglena and Paramecium, amoeba, etc. They have a variable size which ranges from 2 to 200 microns. Some protozoa are harmful to us as they can cause serious diseases. Others are helpful because they ingest harmful bacteria and are food for fish and other animals. Algae are plant-like organisms which contain chlorophyll. Algae may be unicellular or multicellular, filamentous or branched. They may be green, red or brown in color depending on the pigment which they contain, and they are aquatic plants found in both freshwater and seawater. Algae are also called the grass of water because they remain floating on the surface of stagnant water. They are found in freshwater, wastewater and sea. Most algae are microscopic, but some like seaweeds are quite large. Some algae like Chlamydomonas and cholera and unicellular, whereas others are like kelp are multicellular. The size of algae varies from 1 micron to several meters for seaweeds, and the single-celled algae can be spherical, rod-like spindles shaped. Science fact: algae are also called grass of water. Viruses, the word virus means poison in Latin, and viruses can be harmful but they can be useful too. Viruses are peculiar microorganisms which exist in two states. When outside a living body or cell, they are unable to grow and reproduce and are called virions. However, when they enter a living cell, they start reproducing like other living organisms. They are therefore considered to be on the borderline of living and non-living. All viruses are parasitic. Some of the diseases caused by viruses are chickenpox, measles, etc. Viruses are smaller than any known cell, and a virus has similar materials in it as cells do. Yet it is not a cell. The size of viruses ranges from 0.015 to 0.2 micron. The smallest virus has a diameter of only 17 mm, and the largest virus has a size of 800 into 10 nm. And now you have smallest virus is alpha. Alpha is mosaic virus, and the largest virus is, this is the name of myxovirus. Okay, so now we have microorganisms and us. Microorganisms benefit us in a ample ways and plays an important part in our lives. Some of them are beneficial in many ways, whereas some others are harmful and cause diseases. Useful microorganisms. We often associate microorganisms with diseases. However, some of them are useful to us and the environment. For example, sewage treatment plants use bacteria to purify water. Some bacteria are sources of life-saving medicines such as antibiotics. The bacteria in the soil decompose dead and decaying matter and make humus, which provides nutrients to plants. And let us study some of the other benefits we get from these microorganisms. Making of curd. Lactobacillus bacteria helps us to make curd from milk. Curd is formed when a protein called casein present in milk clumps together to form solidified mass. Casein coagulation, clump formation takes place only when the milk is acidic, and the spoonful of curd contains the bacteria Lactobacillus, which promote the formation of curd from milk. Cheese is also made by the action of bacteria on milk. Making breads, pastries and cakes. Yeast cells are used in the baking industries for making bread, pastries and cakes. Yeast are also used in day-to-day household food items like idli, dokla and dosa too. For making idli and dosa, the mixture of ground ice and dal is first allowed to stand for few hours. This mixture rises and becomes sour due to the growth of yeast cells. Commercial uses of microorganisms. Microorganisms are used for the large scale production of alcohol, wine and vinegar, acetic acid. Yeast is grown on starch present in barley, wheat, rice, on cane sugar to produce whiskey, rum, etc., and on fruit juices to produce wine. The main ingredients of whiskey, rum or wine is alcohol, which can be separated by distillation. Fermentation. The enzymatic breakdown of large organic molecules into smaller ones in the absence of air is called fermentation. For example, yeast breaks the sugar molecules into alcohol. Yeast contains the enzymes gymase plus invertase. Sugar is equal to glucose plus fructose. Glucose is equal to ethyl alcohol plus carbon dioxide. Medicinal uses of microorganisms. The medicines produced by living organisms such as bacteria, fungi, etc., which kill or stop the growth of the diseases. Microorganisms present in our body are called antibiotics. For example, penicillin, streptomycin and tetracycline. This and gramicidin also. These are new widely used to cure many microbial diseases. Vaccines contain antigens, weakened or dead virus, bacteria or fungi which cause disease and infection. When introduced into the body, the antigens stimulate the immune system to produce antibodies which weaken or destroy the disease-causing organisms. When a person, especially a child, later comes in contact with the same kind of bacteria or virus, the antibodies prevent those organisms from making the child sick. In other words, the child becomes immune to the disease that the organisms normally cause. Building immunity by using a vaccine is called immunization, and childhood immunization is safe and remain that most effective way to prevent diseases. Vaccines are available in all major hospitals. A number of advertisements on television and in newspapers focus on protection of small children from polio, and polio vaccine is given to children in the form of polio drops. Cleaning the environment. You often see large amount of dead organic matter in the form of decaying plants and sometimes dead and decaying animals on the ground. You find that they disappear after some time. This is because the microorganisms decompose dead organic waste of plants and animals by converting them into harmless, simpler substances. In this way, they help to keep the environment clean. Okay, now let's read about increasing soil fertility. Rhizobium is a type of bacteria that absorb nitrogen gas from the atmosphere and convert it into nitrogenous compounds called nitrates. After harvesting, when the roots decompose, the nitrates present in the root nodules mix with the soil and enrich in with nitrogenous compounds and hence increase the soil fertility. Some bacteria and blue-green algae living in the soil also fix atmospheric nitrogen as nitrates. These microbes are commonly called biological nitrogen fixers. Activity time. Aim is to do these activities to find out microorganisms in soil. Materials required is beaker, water, moist soil, filter, paper. Now we have procedure. Take some moist soil in a beaker and add a little water to it. Stir the contents thoroughly. Filter it through a filter paper. You will get fairly clean water. Put one drop of this filtered water on a clean glass side and examine it under a microscope, and you will notice some small organisms floating in it. Conclusion is that activity shows that soil contains microorganisms. हार्मफुल इफ़ेक्ट्स ऑफ माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स. बच्चों, अभी तक आपने इसके फ़ायदे सुने हैं, फ़ायदे पढ़े हैं. अब आप इनके नुकसान भी पढ़ने जा रहे हैं कि हमें इनसे क्या क्या नुकसान हो सकते हैं. वी हैव लर्नड अबाउट वेरियस यूजफुल माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स बट मैनी हार्मफुल इफ़ेक्ट्स आर ऑल्सो कॉज्ड बाय देम. लेट अस स्टडी द हार्मफुल इफ़ेक्ट्स ऑफ माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स. Microbes decompose foodstuffs and make them unfit for human consumption. Food poisoning, stomach upsets are often caused by consuming contaminated food. Microbes cause considerable damage to stored food grains in godowns. They damage the historical buildings such as the temples, museums and other monuments. Microbes cause many diseases in plants, animals and human beings. The denitrifying bacteria reduce the fertility of the soil by converting nitrates into free nitrogen. Some microbes cause water pollution and aid in spreading communicable diseases. Extreme pollution by some algae can cause death of fish and hence disturb the food chain. Some microbes deteriorate the quantity of textile, timber, books, paper, shoes, furniture, etc. They spoil the taste and flavor of fruit juice, milk products, meat, tea, etc. Some microbes cause skin diseases and other allergies in humans. Disease causing microorganisms in human. Name of the disease is typhoid, cholera and pathogen bacteria. Mode of transmission is water and preventive method is eating home cooked food and drinking boiled water. Vaccination at proper age. Isolating the patient from other family members. Tuberculosis is like bacteria pathogen and mode of transmission is air and preventive method is BCG. Vaccination at proper age. Keep the patient and his personal belongings in isolation from others. Measles, this is the disease name. Virus and mode of transmission is air contact. Preventive method is segregating the patient from the other family members. Chickenpox, virus, air contact, vaccination to be given at a suitable age. Poliomyelitis, virus, water, maintaining personal hygiene, oral polio, vaccination at proper age. Hepatitis A, virus, water, drinking boiled water. Common cold, virus, air, and preventive method is avoid contact with infected person. Malaria, protozoa, mosquito. Do not allow water to collect in the surroundings in order to prevent breeding of mosquitoes. Spray insecticides, kerosene on the surface of stagnant water. So now disease is ringworm and fungus, contact with infected person, and preventive method is use mosquito nets and repellents. Good hygiene, not sharing personal items like towels, clothes, etc. Disease causing microorganisms in animals. Animal disease, sleeping sickness, animals, cattle, pigs, horses, and causative agents are protozoa. Foot and mouth disease, cattle, virus, and anthrax is disease, and cattle is animal, and causative agent is bacteria. Fin rot, animals fish, and this causative जो उसका एजेंट है वो बैक्टीरिया है या फंगी से हो सकता है. रिंडरपेस्ट इज कैटल एनिमल एंड वायरस, ये कैन बी कॉज्ड बाय वायरस की वजह से ये हो सकता है. डिसीज कॉजिंग माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स इन प्लांट्स, प्लांट डिसीज इज रस्ट ऑफ वीट और कॉज होता है इसका फंगी और मोड ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन इसका है एयर एंड सीड्स. सिट्रस कैंकर, दिस इज बैक्टीरिया इसका कॉज है, एयर मोड ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन इज एयर. येलो वेन मोजैक ऑफ भिंडी ओकरा, कॉज है वायरस और मोड है इंसेक्ट. टोबैको मोजैक वायरस cause and mode is hands and claws of farmers, cultivators. Plant disease is apple scab, cause is fungi and mode is air. Do you know there are many diseases which pass on from an infected person to a healthy person? These diseases are known as communicable diseases. Common cold, chickenpox, etc. are communicable diseases. Food poisoning could be caused due to the consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms. Microorganisms that grow on our food sometimes produce toxic substances which are harmful for our health. The toxic substances produced by microorganisms make the food poisonous, causing serious illness called food poisoning. It can sometimes even cause death. Microorganisms like fungi and bacteria are responsible for the spoilage of food. For example, growth of fungus on stale bread, souring of milk, rotting of fruits and vegetables. You know, this is basically of meat or etc. are all due to microbes. Do you know? Bacteria like Salmonella and Clostridium and fungi like Aspergillus and Penicillium cause food poisoning in humans. So it is very important that we preserve food to prevent it from being spoiled. Food preservation, the process by which spoilage of perishable food is prevented using chemical or physical methods is called food preservation. The most common methods used for food preservation are described below. Dehydration, it is the process of removing water from fruits and vegetables. It results in decrease of moisture content. Sun drying is an old method of preserving food materials such as vegetables, fish, meat, etc. धूप में सुखाना, यस बेटा, आपकी दादी माँ, आपके मम्मा, ये लोग आपको आपने देखा होगा खाने को धूप में सुखाते हैं. जैसे आप गाजर वगैरह या कुछ अचार बनाना हो, वो धूप में सुखा के उसको इस प्रोसेस के थ्रू उसको यूज़ किया जाता था. By salting and sugar, fruits and vegetables are commonly preserved by using salt or sugar. The food items are made into jams, jellies and pickles. In jams, sugar is used, right? In pickles, salt is used. Salting is used to preserve raw mangoes, amla, tamarind, etc. Even in case of meat and fish, salt is used for preservation. Sugar and salt remove water from the cells and thereby preventing growth of microorganisms. Pickling, raw mangoes, lemons, gooseberries and vegetables like cauliflowers, onions and cucumbers are preserved in vinegar or brine, very salty water, to give it a sharp or spicy flavor and eaten with other foods. Refrigeration, freezing stops the growth and multiplication of microbes but does not kill them. Frozen food after it is removed from the refrigerator should not be left in the open or long, as the microbes will start multiplying again. Smoking, it is used for dehydration of food items such as meat, fish, etc. In this process, small pieces of meat are first rubbed with salt and then hung from ceiling or kept on wooden rafters. These pieces are then dehydrated. with the heat and fire below. Canning, it involves the cooking of foodstuff and then storing in sterilized tin containers. जैसा कि आपके घर में जो stored food आते हैं वो इन tin में आते हैं, right? By pasteurization, milk is preserved by this method, and first the milk is heated to about 70 degrees Celsius and for 15 to 30 seconds to kill bacteria. Next, it is cooled very fast, chilled to prevent bacteria from growing, and it is finally stored at low temperature. This method of preservation is called pasteurization. This pasteurization kills the bacteria in milk and does not affect its flavor. The process was discovered by Louis Pasteur. Advantages of food preservation. The food preservation has the following advantages. It decreases the food wastage. It increases the storage period, shelf life, food materials. It ensures the availability of out of season food materials. It makes the transportation of food materials easy. It ensures the availability of perishable food materials even at distant places. Nitrogen fixation. Our atmosphere contains about 78% nitrogen which exists in molecular form as N2. And nitrogen is an essential constituent of living organisms. It is an important component of proteins, nucleic acid, chlorophyll and many other compounds. The atmospheric nitrogen cannot be used in its element from directly by plants and animals. It has to be converted into compounds of nitrogen. A few kinds of bacteria can take nitrogen directly from the air and from nitrogen compounds. This process is called nitrogen fixation, and it can be fixed in two ways: natural fixation or atmospheric fixation, artificial fixation or industrial fixation. Natural fixation of nitrogen. In nature, nitrogen of the atmosphere can be fixed by the following methods. Fixation of nitrogen by bacteria. The root nodules of certain leguminous plants like peas, beans, etc. contain nitrogen fixing bacteria called rhizobium. These bacteria can directly fix nitrogen gas to nitrogen compounds which can then be utilized by the plants. Nitrogen fixation by lightning. During lightning in the sky, when high temperature is produced, the nitrogen gas of the atmosphere reacts with oxygen to form nitrogen oxide. This nitrogen oxide dissolves in rainwater to form a very dilute solution of nitric acid. The nitric and thus formed reacts with alkalis present in the soil to form nitrates which are then absorbed by the plants. Artificial fixation of nitrogen. Large amounts of free atmospheric nitrogen are used for the production of many chemical compounds such as ammonia, nitric acid, etc. Ammonia and nitric acid are used in manufacture of many fertilizers such as ammonium nitrate, urea, calcium, cyanamide, etc. And these fertilizers provide nitrogen to plants, and plants convert this nitrogen into proteins. So let's read now nitrogen cycle, and this nitrogen cycle you can see in the picture as well and can practice. The formation of nitrogen compound by bacteria is only the first step in process which is known as the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle maintains the percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere more or less at a constant. Nitrogen and oxygen combine in the atmosphere during lightning to form nitrogen oxides. The same happens during combustion or in factories or in engines or of motor vehicles. These oxides react with rainwater to form dilute nitric acid. The nitric acid reacts with minerals in the soil to form nitrates. Plants take in these nitrates through their roots and convert them into proteins. Animals obtain proteins they need by eating plants or by eating the flesh of other animals. When plants and animals eventually die, the nitrogen compounds are broken down to give ammonia. This process is known as ammonification. Nitrifying bacteria convert ammonia into nitrates. This process is called nitrification. Nitrates may be stored in humus or leached from the soil and carried to lakes and in streams. They may also be converted to to free nitrogen denitrifying bacteria through a process called denitrification and return to the atmosphere. Let us do this. Answer the following question. You have to read these questions and answer them. And before I give you the revision time, I want to tell you, bachcho, this is another opportunity to recall the chapter. So be careful and be attentive as well. Organisms that are small and can be seen only through a microscope are called microorganisms. Microorganisms are found in air, water, soil, plants and animals. Microorganisms belong to 5 major groups: bacteria, algae, protozoa, fungi and viruses. Bacteria are unicellular organisms and may be occurs, Bacillus, Spirillum, etc. Fungi reproduce by spores or by budding. Protozoa are unicellular animals. Algae are green, non-flowering plants. They may be unicellular or multicellular. Viruses cause many diseases in plants, animals and humans. Microorganisms are used commercially in the production of antibiotics, alcohol, vinegar, bakery, dairy products, soil treatment, cleaning and environment, etc. So now it's practice time. It's your turn, my dear. You have to practice through exercise. Darken the circle with correct option in the OMR sheet. You have to choose the correct option and OMR sheet is given at side, and you have to just which option you will choose, that option you have to darken in the OMR sheet. Now you have fill in the blanks. One blank is given. Just check the information in the chapter and fill it. State T for true and F for false. For against each statement you have to mention this. Check the statement. If you find it correct, F आपको उस केस में लिखना है जहाँ पे आपको स्टेटमेंट गलत लगती है. राइट के केस में आपको टी लिखना है. मैच द फॉलोइंग. ए पार्ट को आप बी पार्ट से मैच करिए. गिव 2 एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ ईच. वेरी शॉर्ट आंसर्स एंड लॉन्ग आंसर्स. आपको वेरी शॉर्ट आंसर्स में इन सब के आंसर्स आपको कॉपी में लिखने हैं, और वेरी शॉर्ट आंसर्स में आप 3-4 लाइन्स में आंसर करेंगे. शॉर्ट आंसर्स में आप 4-5-6 लाइन्स में आंसर्स करेंगे, और लॉन्ग आंसर्स को आप डिस्क्राइब करेंगे डिटेल में. राइट. Activity time. Observe the following pictures carefully and give their names. Collect information on the nutritive value of edible mushrooms and the procedure to grow them. If possible, visit the agriculture department office to get a demonstration of mushrooms cultivation. Follow the process to cultivate mushrooms at school in the playground area. Yes, bachcho, you have homework also. Ask your parents for your body health card. Maybe they are having that, which is generally given by the hospitals when a child is born. Yes बच्चों, every child get that. hospitals से आपको मिलता है. आपके parents उसको उसके record के लिए उसको अपने पास रखते हैं. It would be interesting to note all the childhood diseases you have been vaccinated against. Also add the dates and vaccines you have taken subsequently in this list. And while asking for this and while checking this, have fun, enjoy. What they don't do shit.